What's happening, everybody? This is Dave over at Green Hat Kiteboarding. Today, we're going to talk about the new Tweaker tails by Cabrinha. This is something new, something different. They've been working really hard, coming out with some really great foils, but a lot of people said, hey, I want a little bit of a shorter fuselage and also something that I can change the angle of attack in the tail. And Cabrinha delivered with the Tweaker tail and Tweaker fuselage. So first, when you get your whole setup, what you'll get is this whole situation. So this is all of your shims, and it comes with the blue already on. So blue is technically the same angle as the monoblock tails. It goes up in half increments from 2 to 2.5 to 3, meaning positive angle of attack, or 1.5 and 1, which is a negative angle of attack. So if you were riding your monoblock tail, just for instance, the 160, and you're like, I really wish I had a little bit of a surfier feel, that is actually where you would increase your angle of attack, meaning jump up to that 2.5 or 3. Now, with that, if you were riding this tail and you felt that downwinding or winging, you just wanted a little bit more, you would decrease to a 1.5 or a 1. So that's just getting into tails, and I've ridden all of this stuff already. Personally, I really like the 3. It's a full degree of angle of attack in the tail, which means that it gives me this kind of floatier, surfier feel. I feel that my radius is much tighter, and also it just allows me to pump a little less. It increases that front foot pressure just a tad. So the tails themselves are a 140 and a 160. It is the exact same style as the monoblock tails, which is pretty cool because I personally really like those. I'm pretty psyched they didn't change anything with them. But let's get into these new Tweaker fuselages. So this is what everybody's excited about, and they have changed quite a bit. So if you already have the Cabrinha kit and you have a monoblock tail, it is 440 millimeters, all right? To most people, that means that it's 17.3 inches. They have made 2 shorter tails, one a 390 and one a 340. And for anybody else that doesn't understand millimeters, that means that the 390 is 15.3 inches and the 340 is 13.3. So when changing the size of your actual fuselage, there are some things that add some characteristics that might be interesting on your first ride. One of them being where you want to set your mast. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize, but I found out firsthand with my first session. I went out with the 340, I took the 160 Tweaker tail, and I used a 2.5 shim. It was very back-footed because my mast was in the same exact spot as it was with the longer fuselage. So what that did was made it so my actual leverage point was a lot less. So once I pushed my mast up, it felt a lot better. I rode that with the 1150 Prestige with this sup board, the 7.6 Quest. So if I'm being completely honest with you, I personally kind of like a longer fuselage with a sup board. It makes more sense to me. I don't necessarily want to arc my turns any more than I already am because of the longer rail line, but I will tell you that if you're prone foiling, a shorter fuselage is gonna be awesome. I got to ride the 390 when I was in Florida. I got a couple clips of it, and it was an absolute blast. It definitely felt a little bit of a tighter turning radius, but the thing that I really loved about it the most is that I could pump into the wind a little bit more. When going to a shorter fuselage, something like the 390 or the 340, you have to understand that your pump cadence is gonna change a little bit. It's gonna be more of a pump consistently, more of a Bronco, where with a longer fuselage, from what I have found, it's more of a pump, pump, glide, pump, pump, glide. So it really depends on who you are and what you're looking for. So why don't we talk about experience? And what I normally ride is my 1150, my 160 monoblock tail, and this Quest 4-sup surfing. And that is an absolute dream. What I found when I moved to the 340 and rode the 160 and the 2.5 Shim, I was able to pop up a little bit faster. So what I found is when you're actually paddling and you're on a bump that's a little small, and I'm talking about non-breaking waves at this point, you can do this whole rhythm that allows you to get up on foil a little bit faster. It's kind of an interesting thing to paddle with a paddle and paddle with your arms. So I found that the inertia that I could get and get this rhythm was able to get me up in smaller bumps. So people that are interested in downwinding bay bumps that are maybe a little bit smaller, you might find yourself wanting to gravitate towards the shorter fuse. It might help a lot. I personally thought it helped a lot. Did I really need that much help? Not really, but I did feel that it felt pretty cool. Now with turning, I didn't love it. And again, as I said before, the turning radius of a longer rail line is completely different. It allowed me to do these like snappy turns, but I always kind of felt like I had to pop this more back foot pressure a little bit. So let's move on to the next day, where I got to again ride the 1150, 340 fuse, the 160 tail, and the 3-degree shim. So that was a lot different. So that half degree of shim completely changed everything. I still had this interesting kind of Bronco pump that I didn't necessarily love, but I will say that it felt a lot more equal. I also pushed my mast up about maybe like it was at 4 and now it's at 4.5. Felt way better. In my turns, I was able to do more of a tighter turning radius. I was able to even out my stance a lot better. And kind of the best part about it is I was able to stay high on my mast too, because now my front foot and back foot pressure were a lot better. And then I went winging. And what I normally wing with is the 905 Prestige, the 180 monoblock tail, and my trusty 74-liter Swift. And this really felt interesting. Now, I rode the 340 and I used the 140 tail, kept my 3-degree shim in to kind of help with that low end, and I was able to just the same kind of situation with the SUP where I'm paddling and pumping and getting this inertia. I was able to do the same exact thing with the wing. I'm pumping the wing, I'm pumping the board, and I'm getting on foil way faster. I will admit, at first, the turns were a little tricky. I'm used to a longer fuselage and a much bigger tail, but once I started to realize that what I can do is allow a lot less pressure on my actual angles when I turn, it made me feel more confident. That's one thing that you guys have to understand is when you go to a shorter fuselage, you will be able to turn at a much faster degree, and it will become something that is at first a little tough, and you might find yourself just throwing the board out. But eventually, once you realize that your body can keep up with the momentum, it will be awesome. The other thing that a shorter fuselage is going to do is it's going to change your pitch control a little bit. So I didn't really notice anything when I was in the flatter area when I was winging, but when I was on the outside going through bumps, I definitely like the idea of having to use less weight on my front foot and back foot to go up and down the waves. The leverage is way easier. I found myself saving a lot more when I would be going down steeper waves and just being able to kind of level myself out. There are some definite pluses. So I'm gonna continue to ride all this stuff. I'm super stoked on it, and I'm really happy with the way everything works, with the way everything fits, and the fact that Cabrinha is listening to their customers and saying, yeah, we can do that. So going forward, I'm gonna fool around with all of this new gear, try to get some feels, try to lock some stuff in and change it up as far as SUP surfing, the 1150 Prestige, and the 160 monoblock tail. There's something about a monoblock tail. It feels just a little bit more sturdy. It's probably the length of the fuse as well, but it just felt so much floatier. I like the idea of this pump glide situation, and I didn't love the Bronco, but again, that's just me. I didn't feel that I needed a shorter fuselage for a turning radius, although I did do a couple nice turns, which I completely appreciate. I do love the way that this setup is. As far as winging, that is a way bigger different situation. I am for sure gonna be fooling around with all types of stuff. I wanna try some different shims. I also wanna try the 1150 in some higher winds, but running a negative shim with the 140 tail. It's probably gonna be a bad idea, but I just gotta try it just to kind of see what it feels like. As a day-to-day, I will be sticking with this short fuse, the 905, and I think the 160 with the 3 or the orange shim for winging. I think that's gonna be my daily driver. The 140 felt great, but I think the 160 might be a little bit more of my tune. Be interested to see how it feels with para-winging. I do find that like the biggest thing with it is pumping that para-wing while also pumping the foil, and I'm wondering if this 340, the shortest fuse, will actually be the answer. So you might be asking, why Cabrinha make this big change? Why are they now introducing shims? You know what? Prone foiling. Prone foiling is a huge one. As much fun as the longer fuse is, I always kind of felt with prone foiling, I wanted something a little shorter. And also, I used to ride a lot of foils with shims, and I love the idea of changing around your tail angle of attack to kind of manipulate the waves. You can get a lot of different feels. This is also gonna be, I suppose, a big one, and this is something that I have no business talking about, but wingers that enjoy flying. Guys that are boosting huge airs, I would think just from skateboarding and everything else that I've done in my past, that a shorter fuselage will give a lot more leverage, so that way when you're ready to pop out of the water, it's a lot quicker. Also, when getting your new setup, I will say that they really went above and beyond. They had these really great packages. As far as the tails, they are labeled too. Good job. So 140 fits perfect in the 140 little sleeve that we got here. And they took the extra time to create this little shim kit, which also just keep in mind, this is no longer just M8 now. You do need a M6, but they supply you with one in this little kit. Boom. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'm here to help. You can give us a call at 732-284-3800. Check out our website, greenhatkiteboarding.com. And of course, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, send this to people that might need it. Until next time, go get on foil. Later.